We should be live. Yes. Blah 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 blah. Let's test. Okay. We should be live. Yes. Blah 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 blah. Okay, all is working perfectly. Now, there is the audio of the keyboard, which is a little high. Let's lower a little the volume. Too much. Come on. Maybe with. Yes. Okay, that's good. So, what are we going to do? I want to analyze this Sinfonia number 10, and I'm really having fun with this live setting because it's easy. Then I can start the recording and there is a video. So, this way the recording has started. Let's check if all is correct. Yes. Now, this is Sinfonia 10 by Sebastian Bach. Let's analyze it and let's discover what's inside, the compositional techniques. Let's see. There we go. So, first of all, there is a subject because it starts very similarly with a fugue. 3/4. And we have this subject, okay, the main melody, do, fa, which is very interesting because it's entirely based on the hexachord. So we can see a profile from ut to la. Ut, la, re, do, fa, mi. Fa, mi, fa, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, mi. So, imitation, fa, here, fa, mi, re, mi, and at the 5th degree. Okay. Good. This. Accompanied with a bass, do, mi, do, fa, sol, do, fa, mi, fa, sol, do. In both cases, sol, do, and fa, or better, fa, sol, do, and fa, sol, do. Okay. Opening, very simple. And another element that we can find, which is very important, is the suspension clausula. Fa, mi, fa. That, if we want to put this before, fa, mi, fa, the clausula, the cadence should be in G, on G, starting here. Let's use another color. This is an important thing to understand if we have other contrapuntal elaboration. Fa, mi, fa, which is crossing. Okay, crossing because here we have a 10. So, as you can see, this way it will be crossing. Okay. And here the first 4 bars are completed, where we have 2 plus 2. Okay. Fa, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, fa, sol, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, mi. Good. Now something else is starting, and the next true entry of this fugue-like composition will be here. Fa, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, sol, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, mi, but with a special closing, because instead of closing as we expect, fa, mi, re, sol, fa, mi, la, sol, sol, fa, la, sol, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, re, sol, mi, la. And this way, the last, so the second part of the subject continues creating a sequence. Okay, 3 times. So, but now let's see what's happening in the upper voice, because it's not finished. Okay, we have something else in these 2 bars. Here we have this starting in D major, and it's very interesting because look at this phrase. At the end we have the subject, but in another very particular way. Because if this were in C major, in D major, we should have one more thing. The C sharp, because when we had it before, we have the C sharp, which help us creating the cadence to D major. But here we have a Fa instead of a Mi, so C natural. Fa Mi instead of Mi, La, Sol, Fa, Mi. And this is helpful to stay, or better, to come back to G major. Do, re, mi, fa, do, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, re, sol, do, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, re, sol, do, re, mi, fa, the semitones are here, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, re, sol, la, fa, re, sol, la, fa, re, fa, mi, fa, la, sol, fa, and then fa, la, sol, fa, and the bass. These are the most important notes. Sol, fa, mi, re. Third, and third, which means a prinner. In terms of Garan schemata, this is a prinner, and makes sense to have a prinner, to have a modulation to E minor. 6, 3, 7. Sixth, down a fifth melodically, 5, third, 7, 6, 5, 7, 6, 5, 7, 3. Very important to notice this interval. 6, 3, 6, 5, I said. 6, 3, 7, C, 6, 3, 7, 6, 3, 7, 3. That's it. Where we have the cadence. Okay. Now, here, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi. This is a kind of false polyphony. fa, fa, mi, la, sol, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, do, re, mi, fa, te, ti, do, ta. And as the speech continues in the two upper voices alternating the imitation, we have the bass joining. Now, what can we say here? We have this ascending, this leap. So where is this sequence arriving from? Because this part is a kind of entry, because at the end it is, look at this thing. Look at this. We have the subject in the top, and this voice is moving with 6, 6, 6, 6 melodically. So 6 melodically mean harmonically from the top, which means parallel, which means 3 down, 3 down, 3 out, 3 down, 6 up. And this is invertible counterpoint with ascending 7th leap, ascending 6th leap, creating a 7th, ascending 6th leap, this way. So this sequence is entirely prepared in the previous phase. Then, this is a figure which I would put more in a diminution level, so which is not so important by itself. It's more to continue the dialogue, tenor, cantus tenor, where we have 8, 6, 6, 6, parallel sixths basically. Re, mi, do, fa. We'll see if we have re, mi, do, fa in another point. Here I don't see this figure, re, mi, do, fa, or mi, fa, or re, mi, do, fa, or mi, re, sol, do, something inverted. I don't see it yet. Then, let's play the sequence. Fa, fa, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, sol. And now, look at the blue and purple melodies. Before, they were moving in parallel sixth. If I invert them, now they become parallel thirds. So I play this and this up in the upper voice. They become parallel thirds. Where the ascending sixth, it's another descending third, but in an upper position. So this bar is the essence of the following sequence, and in the middle we have the middle voice which continues with the long note fa, mi, re, do, that way. Now let's continue. Just after the cadence, the E minor subject appears. But this cadence is not a stronger cadence as we are expecting. So there should be another stronger cadence at the middle of the composition. Let's see where we can find that. Okay, but also up to this point it's all clear what's happening now. Fa, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re, mi. sequence. Okay. Fa, fa, mi, re, do, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, fa, la, fa, fa, la, ti, 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 ta, ta, ta. Here, if we want the transposition of the subject in the correct way from G major to E minor, we should have something different. For example, we should have, let's play it correctly. But because Bach wants to do E minor followed by A minor, it's not like a 4/5, 1/5, but it's like 5/1. So E minor down a fifth, and that's why we need this modulating passage. This would be too much in E minor. Okay, and the new subject starts here. Mi fa so ta ta fa la sol ta ti ri ti 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 ta ta ta. And this one, indeed, because it's conclusive in this section, it has the melodic scale in the right position. We should be D sharp and C sharp in that point. Okay. Let's discover what's happening here. Okay, it's clear that here we have a sequence which is employing invertible counterpoint compared to what we had before. Now, the main thing is how. Let's go more in depth, because it's so what I find more interesting. It's this passage, because this is another entry, as you can see, in E minor, but because we are arriving from A minor, it doesn't take the leading tone at the beginning, this D sharp, basically. And as the bass did before, in the last entry, 1, 2, and it's repeated 3 times, the second part of the subject. Here, we have this repetition, which is a little longer. 1, 2, so 3 times we were counting the second part of the subject too. 1, 2, 3, 4 times at the end. So we can say 1 plus 3 instead of, 1 plus 3 instead of 1 plus 2. Now, and the other 2 voices are in invertible counterpoint. Okay, because the voice with suspension, so the top voice with blue notes, now it's in the bass. But what we want to discover is the modulation passage, because here it takes only 3 phases, and it's from G major to E minor. And here instead, so it starts in A minor and it moves to B minor. So to be precise, we have to check the same notes we had in the bass. In the bass we had and they correspond to the second note of this. And now they are and the fifth degree and the first degree appearing here, B minor. Good. Now B minor. Okay. We have to double check now if there is an invertible counterpoint at the octave or an invertible counterpoint at the 12th or the 10th or something else. How to do that? With intervals. For example, here we have, let's check the first bar. We have the voice with long notes, which is a third. So if they are inverted and if it's invertible counterpoint at the octave, this should be a sixth in the previous part. Let's see. So we have a 6, 6, 6, 6, Indeed, let's check, no, what's the bar? This bar. If we have a third, we should have a 6. But, as you can see, we don't have a sixth. We have a third between E and G, which means that the inversion is not invertible counterpoint at the octave, but E, G. So let's move down this an octave and we'll get the sixth. Okay. Now, our first note is a C, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, so this should correspond to an E. E down. And we have an A, right? Am I saying right? No. We have an E. We have an E. Yes. So yes, we have a 6 and we had a third before. So what do I saying? We have a 6 here, which means that we had a third before. That's okay actually. So yes, it's invertible counterpoint at the octave. I'm seeing thing that doesn't exist. So we have F in chat. Sinfonias are dope, talking about sequences. He normally never repeats more than 3 times a motive. I find strange he does it 4 here. It depends, there may be a reason of that. This is what we are discovering. Okay. Now let's see if there are some differences. And the relationship between this note A and C, it's a third. Yes, I was looking to the wrong melody before, that's why. And so inverted, we should have a 6. Indeed, we have the 6, okay. So it's invertible counterpoint and the octave regularly. Now, this is the end of the subject. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the reason why the second time is repeated 4 times at the end, first of all, we have the end of the subject. So this is part of the end of the subject. But because it's chromatic, the second time, we have a lot of chromaticism. This effect maybe what makes it very interesting, even if it's chromatic, even if it's very long. That's why. Now, what I want to discover is what's happening here. Ta ta tan tan, because we can see fa mi re fa and another fa mi re fa with the same notes. Very similarly, even if then it continues in another way. This seems to be a quite free part, even because we have the long, short, short, the figura corta, that I don't see in any other place for the moment. So basically parallel sixth. But this parallel sixth, ta, 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 no, they're just a connection, okay, yes, it may be. So here, what is leading the speech is the position of the subject. And then continuing with the sequence. La, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re. And finally, the cadence. Here, for the first time, we have a strong cadence because we have 5, 1, and fa, la, sol, la, re, fa, la, sol, la, re, which takes the bass of the beginning. So it seems that the very strong cadence is arriving at that point. Now B minor subject. Ta 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 fa fa mi sol, fa, mi, fa, concluding in the right way, so in the correct way, without alterations. And here we have the very, very first cadence, which we can classify as strong cadence 5-1. It's the first one, because I don't see any other cadence during the speech that we can classify at all as 5-1, because here, yes, is 5-1, I agree, but it's weaker because the bass is arriving stepwise at the end. So it seems that the very first cadence arrives at that point, and it's very important because even in this composition, simple composition, very short, we always have a cadence in the middle, or creating a division of the composition, okay, into two parts. So basically here we have bar number 22. 22. In bar number 22 we have the cadence, which means in total we have 31, 2, 3, 3 bars. So interesting. At bar 33 the last cadence. In bar 22 the middle cadence. Is it something happening in bar 11, maybe? Yes, in bar 11 we have the very first cadence to E minor. Even if not so strong, as we said, because at the end there is this, but it's a cadence to E minor after the sequence. So very interesting that we have a cadence in bar 11, in bar 22, and in bar 33. Numerology scene. Maybe we know Bach, so it may be. It may be. Okay, very good. Now, let's play again up to this point. Okay, any symbology about Bach and 33 years of Jesus Christ? It may be, okay. It may be, makes totally sense. 11, 32, so 22 and 33. Makes sense, probably. Now, what's happening in this point? Because from this point, from bar 22, something different is happening. What? We have something new. First of all, we have a modulation which happens in a very fast way. Fa, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, re, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi. This is a fonte. So one of the reasons why we can say that this is the strongest cadence, I mean after the final one, this is the strongest one, is because after this we can recognize some specific patterns. One of these is the fonte, very common. Re, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, and then the subject reappears. And now, what I'd like to identify is if this melody is something in augmentation. We have an ascending fifth. Fa, mi, re, do, fa, la, sol. It may even be. Because do you see that we have a 7? Fa, mi, re, do, fa, la, sol, fa. What recalls to me fa, mi, re, do, fa, la, sol, fa? Let's check the minor mode. But let's see this in the major mode first of all. La, sol, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi. La, sol, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi. Then, of course, re, mi, fa, sol, do, re, ti, ta, ti, ta, la, sol, fa, mi. These are important things. Do, da, 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 and they recall, of course, the beginning of our subject. La, sol, fa, mi. Ta, ta, la, sol, fa, mi. La, sol, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, sol, fa, mi, re. Ok. Re, mi, fa, re, sol, la, sol. La, sol, sol, fa, mi, fa, do, fa, sol. This, in a way or in another way, is a subject, especially fa, da, da, ti, re, ti, da, ta, 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 ta. Now, my question is, if we want to have the regular subject in the bass, what should we have? Because we would need an A and F natural. This. We should have do, re, mi, mi, do, fa, do, re, mi, fa, re, mi, do, fa. Now the question is, why I should have changed this? It's even true that it doesn't sound so beautiful. Maybe he wanted to arrive there, so he divided the subject into two parts, and the first part is just different. That way. Okay. In any case, we have a clear font, 2 plus 2, with this do ta 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 tan, do ta 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 ra ta ra ta ra ta 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 tom. B minor, which means 3 to A minor and then to G major, and so you can come back to G major that way. Good. Let's play now the cadence plus the fonte. So one of the interesting things when we have direct motion with different values is that it's very difficult to don't do parallel octaves. Or parallel fifths. Let's see how Bach manages this section. So 3, 4, 4, 6, 5, 5, 5, 5, 6, 6. Because usually this is what happens when we have, for example, 8th notes and 16th. It's a mathematical thing. If we have 3, and then this 3 becomes a 4, then we have another 4, because they move in parallel motion. 3, 4, 4, 4, 4, followed by a 5th, another 5th, which is diminished, so okay. 5 becomes 6 and 6. So we have two parallel fifths where the second one is diminished, so it's not a problem. in the major mode. Let's see what happens in the minor mode. Okay, that we have another diminished fifth because of the melodic scale. So that's why this passage is practicable. We can do it. 3, 4 becomes 4, 5, 5, 5, 6, and 6. And actually is moving down to, is continuing moving down. So 6 becomes 7, 7, and then 8, 10. 8, 10. So from the third to the 10, and then even here, because the 7th up is like the second down, so 6, 7, 7, 8, and then 10, because contrary motion. Okay, interesting thing. Now let's continue. Do, re, mi. Okay, and here there's another sequence after the subject. Why? Because we have again the subject joining in G major. Here is giving the impression of C major, of something on D, but at the end it's on G. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, fa, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, mi, fa, re, mi, fa, sol, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, fa, mi, re. So the sequence we had before, now it's in the middle. So the first time it was in the bass, the second time it was in the top, and in the last section it should be in the middle. So bass, top, and middle. Even here the repetition is 1, 2, 3, and 4 times. 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And it is okay. Now the other two voices do something a little different. So we should expect one voice doing our descending lip. But what we can notice is that we have, so look at the top voice, what's doing. We can write this way as a minima, and then minima tied to 4 semiminime. Here starting on the third beat of the bar. So they are parallel thirds. 3, 3, 3. While in the previous sequences it starts on the first beat, so is shifted, and we had parallel thirds that way. Okay, starting with a 6, so we have the 6 relationship. 3, 3, 3. Where the subject is in the lower voice compared to the voice which is doing that movement in the lower voice. Now the relationship is the same, but instead of the 6th, how? Okay, it does a third up. Fa, mi, fa, la, sol, fa, mi. Instead of repeating the same exact thing, he shifts this melody a bit before, and starts with that 6th, which becomes a 3rd. So down a 4th. Instead of the 6th, the 3rd. And that la, sol, fa, mi from B, it's in the bass. So we preserve that one. Let's use a color. We can use this green color to be precise, to use this. So this section, actually, green, 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 is the one that we have in the bass, because here is moving, as you can see, in parallel thirds. 3, 3, 3. Now they should be parallel sixth inverted. Indeed, they are parallel sixth. Ta. So it's like if Bach is using only that voice. But why? Let's imagine to stay on B, he would create a kind of tied bass. So ta ta ta. This is a tied bass. So sa re do ta di ti, fa re su, la sol fa mi, la sol fa mi. Good. So there's a little canon between the two outer voices which arrive from the green counter subject. Starting here. Perfectly works, but so now is the point. Bach wanted to do this canon, but because this way we lose the rhythm in quarter notes, in eighth notes, because if we do that, there is an entire beat, so which would be stuck in the rhythm. By introducing this leap, mi fa sol fa la do ta 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 ta. We don't have anymore the third leap we should expect, so it's a canon where the second voice takes actually a little modification, and that one disappears, at least in this sequence. Yes, it disappears. Ta, 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 ta. So 1, 2, 3, da, da, 1, 2, 3. We can do that way because it starts here. 1, 2, 3, da, da, da. 2, 3, da, da, da. 1, 2, 3, da, da, da. 1, 2, 3, da, da, da. 1, 2, 3, da, da, da. 1. Okay, and even in the bass, 1 and 2. So it's using this figuration. Shifted a bit, where the original one is the one we have in the bass in terms of interval, and so if we use this figuration, but it's modified in the profile. Okay, and this way we arrive to the end. Let's see what's happening in the last bar. What's happening in the last bar? Do you remember at the beginning of this analysis when I wrote this blue voice? Here it is. We have the blue voice, so the ending, which is nothing more than the opening, the first two bars, with the blue voice in the middle, exactly as I wrote it, and in the bass, fa, sol, do, we have this fa, sol, do, do, mi, do, fa, sol, do, mi. So beside the first note, the first beat, which is arriving from the sequence, then we have mi, do, fa, sol, fa. So the top two voices exactly at the beginning, plus the bass, which continues in parallel thirds and sixths with diminution, in order to conclude the cadence with a faster rhythm. And so let's play for the last time the last part, because then I have to go. And here it is. See you in the next streaming.